see. There it goes. And just a reminder that today's slides, along with all of the slide decks from the first 2 webinars and additional resources, will be mailed to all of the webinar participants on a physical flash drive later this month. And we do want to encourage you all that if you are not already signed up to get Heartland Food Center updates, including updates on the Business Builder Grant, you can sign up for those at heartlandfoodbusiness.org. And Taylor, if you would drop that link in the chat, that would be great. Speaking of Business Builder Grants, some of you may have seen the USDA press announcement earlier today, and some of my colleagues are in Kansas City right now because they were at the live press event. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Sorry if we had to cut into your lunch hour. So the details are the Heartland Regional Food Business Center is set to invest $11 million across Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Northwest Arkansas. Grants are $5,000 to $50,000 each, and they are for small food and farm entrepreneurs as well as nonprofits. There's going to be an informational free Zoom webinar on August 28th. From 12 to 1 p.m. Central Time. And the first round of applications opened today, and it will close in October with awards being announced in January. And you can find details regarding the project qualifications and how to apply and get updates at our website. All right, so to set the vibe for today's webinar, we're going to think of packaging as part of the value adding function. As your product makes its way through the value chain, how does its package and labeling help to preserve, distribute, and merchandise your product? Does your packaging and label add to the value of your product? And add value for whom? You, the retailer, the customer? In short, yes, yes, and yes. This example from Yisa's shows their yogurt in its packaging on the shelf in the right picture, and in the box, the yogurts are delivered in on the left. The boxes and clear labeling add value to both Yisa, the buyer, and the customer. This yogurt used to come in a bag-like container instead of these stiff plastic tubs, and it was a little problematic to retailers who struggled to display the non-industry standard packaging. Yisa's took the feedback from retailers and made the business decision to try different packaging. If you look closely, though, at the labels in the right side, you will see that they're peeling back a little bit. And I'm willing to guess that Yisa is going to improve that with their next labeling order.
Hey, Kristen, I don't want to interrupt you. Will you mind sharing your screen? I'm not able to share the presentation, and that is not currently sharing. We can't see.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry, everyone. Thanks for saying something, Taylor. Now, do you see a screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, this is the picture that I was referring to. So if you look close, you'll see that on their label. Let's see. Thanks. Dana?
Yes.
I see your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Oh, that was when I couldn't see the screen.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I have a willing to guess Uses will improve that with their next label order. And it's an illustration of how packaging and labeling and all of this is a journey. And it also illustrates the importance of communication between producers and the buyers. The sooner the producer the sooner the buyer lets the producer knows that there's a problem, the sooner you can both work to find a sustainable solution. This page gets a little more in detail on a good example here at the top, as well as a side-by-side of similar products, and it just illustrates the visual importance of your packaging decisions. And this slide, oh, is this you, Taylor? I think on slide 6.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pass it over to Taylor.
Thanks, Kirsten. So this slide covers and provides examples of packaging and labeling from Nebraska aggregators and local grocers. You'll notice that the packaging frequently features clear and simple designs that highlight local ingredients, often with labeling that tells a story, whether it's about the farm, whether the produce was grown, or where the produce was grown, and or the community supported through those purchasing decisions. Many local products also use eco-friendly materials, which resonates with the growing consumer preference for sustainability. It's most often important that these practices reflect both regional identity and consumer values, but overall, the functionality of packaging and labeling goes beyond merely containing the product, but it plays a more crucial role in the product safety, consumer communication, and brand perception. Can click to slide 7. Thank you. So this slide kind of covers sale economies, means lower cost per unit with larger volume, covers some bullet points here, increased storage space needs, custom labels, kind of covers SKUs, and we'll talk about that a little more in depth. And then packaging equipment options, the printing dies, volume of use will influence the cost per unit, and then make versus buy, doing it ourselves versus paying someone else to do it, and how much is that worth? Is it whether it's more efficient for you to do that or bring somebody else in to do that? Labeling for compliance and inventory management, just going over kind of those labeling requirements. Let's see, labeling and packaging, like regulations for compliance. The SKUs are usually, there's a lot of information that we'll give you and there's links to in a later slide. But this kind of covers the basic information, and there's different exemptions, what size of grocer you are. So the SKUs are kind of custom to your grocer. Like in our micro market at No More Empty Pots, we create our own SKUs for everything. They're not universal. So when you see a UPC, that's universal. And then the PLUs are also 4 or 5 digit codes for fresh produce that if it starts with an 8, it's GMO, and if it starts with a 9, it's organic produce. This slide provides quite a bit of resources for labeling, which is here for you at your convenience, packaging, produce specific resources. And then there's an example and a link to Open Harvest Online Vendor Packet, which kind of has those requirements of that onboarding process to be a vendor with their specific brochure. This slide touches base on FSMA's produce safety rule, which ensures the safety of the fresh produce. This rule kind of sets standards for the safe growing, harvesting, packing, and the holding of fruits and vegetables grown for human consumption. Below provides some more information around the key points, exemptions, and qualified exemptions that may provide you all with more support. And then this also just provides more resources about that FSMA PSR rule for your convenience. And then if you ever run into any more information, you can contact Tori from the Nebraska Department of Agriculture, and then it provides their email and contact information, both office and cell.
Yep, thank you, Taylor. Tori put that all together for us for the produce growers that it impacts. So she's happy to talk to you about that if you have any questions. And that completes Taylor and I's overview of packaging and labeling. And Amy, I'll stop sharing here. If you would care to share your screen and share with us a bit about Open Harvest.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm a little rusty on Zoom, so bear with me. Do you see a presentation? Okay, yay. All right, wonderful. Okay, thanks for having me, Kirsten. I'm excited to be here. My name is Amy. I am the general manager at Open Harvest Co-op Grocery. We are located in Lincoln, Nebraska. We are a community-owned, full-service grocery store, and we've been serving our community for 49 years. For the past 33 years, we were located at 16th and South Street. For those who are familiar with Lincoln, right across from the hospital. However, in February of this year, we completed a multi-year $4 million build out of a historical building and moved our store to the heart of the Telegraph District, which is about a mile and a half north of where we were located. So we're closer to downtown, closer to UNL campus. And we love our new home. It's been a really incredible past few months getting used to the space. We have more retail space, new energy efficient equipment and workspaces to help serve our community better. And that includes our local food producers. I forgot to show you the picture. This is a picture of our new store. So, we love local. Open Harvest exists so that we will have, that we are part of a vibrant community, and part of that is providing access for consumers to access local food and for our vendors to have a market to sell it, strengthening our local economy and contributing to a strong local food system. So it's very much part of our mission to support local. And while we quite haven't tallied our total local stats for this last fiscal year that just ended in June, in the previous year, so before we had a new store, we've worked with 69 local vendors. We purchased $390,000 in local goods, which resulted in just shy of $1 million in sales, which is 27% of everything that we sell. Of the 10,300 SKUs that we have in our grocery store, just over 1,000 of them are local products. So about 10% of our SKUs are local. And I am happy to report that this fiscal year, we achieved over $1 million in sales. This was up $94,000 from the previous fiscal year. So we totally expect to see those purchases, those dollars that go directly to the local producers and farmers, to go up as well. We do have a local vendor application. I will admit it needs updated. So, like our map is still our old store, and even just being part of this webinar, Kirsten has put together, and Hannah have put together, have put together some really great resources that I will probably incorporate as well. But this is where we send people who are curious about selling their products here. It's an online application. It has everything that you need to know, including what we're looking for products, what you can expect as a vendor in terms of ordering, delivering to the store, invoicing, the prices, and payment. And then we do have a list of additional resources as well. I will say, as I'm getting into this next part, I am not a labeling expert. I know there's a lot that goes into it. I'm really just on the end of like what customers are looking for, what makes sense, what is legal, and what's safe, right? What's keeping customers safe and the food safe. And so when it comes to labeling, we all know as consumers, there's so many labels out there. So no, it's not so much as what we're requiring as a retailer, but what you all have done to, get this product to market, including the certifications that you've attained or attributes that are part of this label. Some of those include the USDA organic, the non-GMO project, certified naturally grown and biodynamic. Those are things that we, most commonly see. Cool labeling is another one that, as for meat producers and also for produce. And, it's a little redundant in terms of local, but yes, if, for the meat, it does have to say that. And we do, as retailers, get audited on that on a, not a super regular basis, but we get audited occasionally to make sure that those, not only what we're labeling in store, but what local vendors have on their products, on their labels themselves. So And then for any prepared foods, which we don't do a ton of these, we do some of them, but you know, having the ingredients clearly listed, of course, and then any allergens that are required to be legally listed. Other label considerations, just as from a consumer standpoint, you know, we love to see cohesive branding, labels that stick out and help tell your story about your product. Like mentioned earlier, labels should be durable. They should be legible, easy to read, and something that can withstand moisture or refrigerated elements without falling apart. Other considerations include things like, you know, how to prepare the item or cooking instructions. I have an example of something created by Milkweed Kitchen where on the back side it tells you how to create this one pot meal out of this great, you know, local product, expiration dates, and then any information about your company. See a lot of local vendors put their contact information right on there. And then another one that is really great to see, especially when products are celebrated at a national level. For example, our Dutch Girl Creamery winning awards that are nationally known. You'll see those labels on there, right, as well. In terms of packaging, we do require things to be retail ready. We prefer packaging that is minimal, you know, things that are recyclable, biodegradable, compostable, or reusable are total bonuses. We recognize that packaging costs are a real thing that businesses have to consider. And so, you know, if those things don't meet your budget or aren't quite where you are, you know, we really work with vendors where they are, so that they can get their product to market. We appreciate product that is durable, that can easily sit on a shelf, you know, be stacked or, you know, doesn't fall over when you sit on a shelf and can hang without falling apart. Those are some lessons that we've learned and have had to make adjustments in terms of, you know, not only, you know, we don't want to lose product that we've paid for, but it's just has a more professional appeal when the packaging looks good and can hold up in a retail setting. In terms of delivery, and I know this isn't maybe exactly what we were talking about, but I like to bring this up because, you know, as a retailer, we are handling so much cardboard when we are getting local items delivered to us. We really love seeing vendors, when they can, if they can, use totes and things that are reusable. And so that's something that's really easy. We're used to processing, handing those over to back to the farmer, you know, at their next delivery, as long as they're clean, you know, labeled. It really is less work for staff, and I assume less work cost for the vendor in terms of using alternates. Wax cardboard is fine. Tin or plastic bins that are collapsible, and then of course boxes that hold smaller items that may sit on the shelf as well. In terms of packaging for the item, you know, the number one thing is preserving the freshness of the product, or, you know, food safety, of course, whether that's keeping moisture in and out or standing up to those refrigerated elements, or just being handled and being able to be stocked quickly and efficiently. So we appreciate that packaging that's durable. We know it's important. Customers know, you know, like packaging that is appealing. It can show off the product, whether that's beautiful quail eggs or, you know, fresh made pasta, or the fresh sprouts that we get, the bee pollen. So we see a lot of glass. We do see a lot of, we see plastic, compostable plastic items from local vendors. And then the last thing, well, I have two more things I'll mention. UPCs, and this was already talked about a little bit. We love UPCs. We love barcodes. They make our lives easier. You know, not all the local products that we do get in, it's not a requirement, but if a vendor comes in and they're still developing their packaging or have questions, that is something we will absolutely request. When there isn't any UPC, we do have to assign our own PLU, and we have to hand sticker products, which just takes staff time and resources. And it also is an opportunity for mistakes to be made in the transaction, resulting in an inaccurate transaction or loss of sales. So getting a UPC and barcode on your product is a really big plus in our book. And then finally, I'll just wrap up real quick. Open Harvest, we are one of Lincoln's trusted sources for high quality local products. And so in doing this, we're looking for products that meet or exceed our product standards, meet the needs of our customer. I mean, that's a big one. We want things that will sell and will sell well, and that we have an adequate and consistent supply of. We know there's seasonality in produce, but of course, things that are going to be more shelf stable and be a year-round thing, we want to be able to have them there all the time. And then retail ready, like I mentioned, packaged and presented in a way that is just ready to sell, ready to put right on the shelf. So we're always accepting new vendor applications. We currently have a wide variety of local products, from oats to popcorn, microgreens, cheese. I mean, we carry a lot of things. We've had some really exciting new products in the past several years. From apples at Picnic Hill Orchard, we have local candles, we have some really great flower vendors right now, and yogurt from Mises Cheese and Dutch Girl Creamery, that goat milk lassie and cow's milk cheeses that are coming out of Dutch Girl Creamery. So we're always on the lookout for new things. But I did ask my team as I was prepping for this, what are some things that you are hearing that customers are asking for? And the biggest, because the thing with local is we've had some really great products come and go for a variety of reasons. So, we used to have a local gelato, so we don't have that anymore. So that's one we get. We used to carry a local fish, is an aquaculture fish called trout. And so that's another one that people are still asking for, even though it's been a couple years. Things like carrots, and then also more local bread options. So those are just a handful. We do have a customer comment and product selection form that our customers can fill out. So we're always taking that feedback on a daily basis. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Amy. That's very helpful. I appreciate you sharing your wealth of experience and knowledge with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Julie, you're up next. To give you a moment to share your screen. Here, just a sec. We're still viewing yours, Amy.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to override it here.
Okay, there we go. No problem. Now we're on Julie's. Okay.
You see
Thanks,
mine
Julie.
okay?
Looks great.
All right. Hi, I'm Julie Reiling. I'm a consultant at the Food Processing Center at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. We're located on Nebraska Innovation Campus, which was the old state fairgrounds, for those of you that remember that. I'm going to kind of go, I've got some slides here I'm going to go through. Some of it may overlap what Amy talked about, but hopefully not too much. Let me go here. So I'm kind of taking parts out of our Recipe to Reality seminar that our food entrepreneur group puts on. So some of this first part is not something that I'm typically involved in, so I'll do my best to go through it. But if you have specific questions, I may refer those on to Adele to answer for you. They talk a lot about branding your products through several different ways, and I'm going to focus more on the packaging and those elements that can help, brand your product. So they talk about how packaging is your first impression that you're making on your clients. So it's the most, how did she put it? For first-time sales, that's what really catches your customer's attention. So she has on here, just if you have something like a Me Too product, that you can really stand out if you have distinctive packaging. And packaging is really advanced lately, and consumers almost always expect sophisticated packaging. Things to consider in your package development are the size of the packaging that you want to sell, whether it's smaller bottles, bigger. Color is big, both for if it's a cap or lid color, if it's just a plain glass bottle or something like that. Further use of the container. If you're using a co-packer, they're probably going to have suggestions for you or packaging that they already carry. And their recommendation was to use a standard or stock container, because if your co-manufacturers probably have these stock packaging, so it's available at a lower cost to you. You can buy special containers, but it's going to be at a higher premium. One, because they may, or as pointed out, ordering in quantity will help reduce that cost, but then you've got the problem with storing these items. But sticking with the stock containers, it also fits most types of processing equipment, so that eliminates any kind of manual packaging or anything like that, which is going to drive the cost up on your product. They suggest saving your funds for creating a really amazing label rather than spending it so much on the packaging. Some things to keep and consider when you're developing a name. They said to generally avoid geographical references unless it's a very strong, well-received reference. And they mentioned like Rocky Mountain Foods, you know immediately it's in Colorado, or California Pizza Kitchen, something like that. They also suggest something like Jill's Fine Foods instead of Jill's Salsa, because that allows you a line extension and you're not just tied into just salsas. The other thing they recommended is kind of a neat way to go is to create a word like hippies, which is a chickpea snack, or but I how you pronounce that, banza, a garbanzo pasta. So you can have a little fun with it and kind of create your own little word. Things to consider in your logo design. It's not just words, it can be artwork, it can be photographs. So just some things there for you to consider. And again, color is very important. You want to choose appropriate colors for the product that you're showcasing, because it can enhance or it can detract from the product. One example they have here, these are two different products that are labeled under the Kellogg's banner, but they obviously are targeted to two different audiences. Obviously, the Fruit Loops are designed to really catch the eye of kids, and the All brand is really focusing more on the wheat and the fiber associated with that product. Other things to consider on your label are, like was mentioned, serving suggestions or recipes. Like Amy had pointed out, if you have the room, your company story is always nice to read. They've talked about the UPC, and ways that they can contact you or find out more about your product. Telephone number, website address, email address, even a QR code is really helpful. So that was kind of a quick go through of things to consider when you're putting your packaging and labeling together. I'm going to talk more about the regulatory part of the labeling, the things that are required on these packages. The regulatory agencies that are involved in regulation of food within the food industry include state regulatory agencies. And on the state side, this can either fall under the Department of Health or Department of Agriculture. And then FDA regulates food products and shells, eggs in the shell. Just can be kind of confusing sometimes. USDA regulates meat, poultry, and eggs that are out of the shell. The food regulations are found in Title 21 of the Federal Code of Regulations, and the meat codes or regulations and poultry and unshelled eggs are found in Title 9. Oops, what a little, I need to just do this one at a time. Okay, required label elements. We call the front of the package the principal display panel, or PDP. The elements that are required on the PDP are the statement of identity, and that is a small phrase that identifies the product, and it needs to be fairly specific. You get into some things like microwave dinner meals or something like that. The statement identity can get fairly long. In this case, it's chocolate sandwich cookies, just explains what it is. Net contents are required both on an English and metric scale, and you need to use the appropriate units. If you're talking of a solid food, it needs to be in mass, like pounds and grams. And if you're talking like fluids, it's fluid ounces or milliliters. If you are dealing with USDA with meats and you have your establishment seal that needs to be displayed on that PDP as well. Now, all of the required elements can be on the front of the package. It doesn't have to be in two different spots. If you have the room and can do it, or you just have one label, it all can be on one label. Most products typically have the PDP or the front of the package, and then the information panel, which I'm going to talk about next. If you have packaging that can be displayed in a couple of different ways, if you notice the bottom picture, you see more of the side, but it's stacked on the shelf that way. That is considered an alternate PDP, and you need to have the same information on that side as well if you envision the product being stacked like that on the shelf. And here's an example of a couple more principal display panels with your statement of identity, and the bottom one shows the establishment seal for a fish product. Okay, now we're going to talk about the information panel. The elements that are required on a IP panel are the nutrition facts panel, ingredient statement, and manufacturing statement. The information, the nutritional facts panel can be produced in a couple of different ways. You can use database calculations. There's a specific software that you can use that you take your recipe and you're pulling ingredients out of the database, and it's calculating the nutrition facts panel based on calculations. Now, there has to be adjustments made to that. If you're cooking or heating the product in any way, we need to make a moisture adjustment on that. But it's important to note that not every product can be done by database calculations. In that case, you would need a total chemical analysis on the product, and that can be very expensive. But especially items that are fermented, we can't adjust for the sugars that are used up during the fermentation process. So those types of products would need to be done by chemical analysis. Cooked meat products a lot of times need to be, and there can be several different other ones, but those are the main ones. The ingredient statement is and I'm going to talk more about the small business exemption on another slide here, so we'll get back to that. The ingredient statement is absolutely required. Ingredients should be listed in order of predominance from the most to the least in the product. You need to use common or usual names. Don't use sodium chloride, use salt. Don't use sucrose, use sugar, that kind of thing. And an allergen statement is not technically required as long as you have all of your allergens listed in the ingredient statement. However, we recommend using the allergen statement because I think most consumers are used to looking for that statement, and it just makes it a lot easier for them to find what allergens are in there. And then the other item that's absolutely required is the manufacturer or distributor statement. You need the company name and you need the address. Not a phone number, not a website. It has to be a physical address. From what I understand, if your company is found, it can be found through a phone directory. A phone number is okay, but the address is required otherwise. Other label elements that you might need to add are safe handling instructions and code dates. I think I saw a question about use by, best by dates. That's something else you can add. Your USDA, your perishable items, I believe those are required to have a use by date. The other ones is not a requirement, but consumers like to see that. So. And then Amy had talked a little bit about, and Taylor, I think, had talked a little bit about other items that you could add to your label, your third-party claims, like organic, non-GMO, those kind of things. Other things you can consider are FDA regulated claims, like nutrient content claims. Those are the things that you see. It's like excellent source of or high in. Those are highly regulated. You have to meet specific nutrient requirements in order to make those claims. Health claims are the same way. Heart healthy or something like that. There are specific regulations that you need to meet in order to put that on your label. And those are found in the Code of Regulations. Now, I mentioned the small business nutritional labeling exemption. I'm not going to read them here, but you can see the two different categories If you meet those requirements, you do not have to have a nutrition facts panel on your product. However, a lot of grocery stores and other outlets require that information, and consumers like to see it. So it is something to definitely consider. It is an investment, especially if you have to go to the chemical analysis side, but it is an important piece of information. But again, it is not required if you meet these two regulations. And the difference between these two just depends on whether you need to file a notice with the FDA that you qualify for the small business exemption, or if you don't even need to file that exemption. Okay, here at the Food Processing Center, we're a food consulting business that works with the food industry. Everybody from your small people just getting started in the food industry through small to medium-sized companies to large companies as well. And I've listed some of the services we offer here. And I've highlighted in red those areas I think that would be beneficial to those of you listening today. We do generate nutrition facts panels like I'm showing here. We can do it by database as well as by chemical analysis, or a combination of the two if we can do it that way. We also offer total label reviews. We have an individual that is trained in looking at all of the regulated items on the label and making sure your font size is correct, that you have all of the required elements, that they're in the correct places. Because that information panel should fall exactly to the right of the principal display panel. There's all kinds of little regulations that if you don't know, or your graphic designer who's laying out the label for you doesn't know, that is something we can help you with. We also offer the Recipe to Reality seminar, part of what I pulled these slides from, that really goes over getting started in the food industry and how to do that, what it takes, and resources to help you along the way with that. And our website is fpc.unl.edu. And I think that's about it. I went through it pretty quick, but I'll be happy to answer questions at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julie. We appreciate that information. And with that, Michelle, I will turn it over to you.
All right. Let's see if I can share now. Here we go. Okay, so can everyone see my screen? Awesome. All right, so I'm Michelle Dill. I am with Farm Table Delivery. We are a food hub located in Harlan, Iowa. We serve all of Western Nebraska and into Eastern, I'm sorry. Oh, I get those confused. We serve all of Western Iowa and Eastern Nebraska, and we also move food into Eastern Iowa. But our primary focus is in this territory. Excuse me. We are buyers and sellers of all sorts of products. We sell into schools, food service, restaurants, pantries and food banks, retailers, and we do some direct to consumer. So we look at a lot of things when we think about what products we are going to bring in. Let's see if, there we go. So one of the first things that we think about when we see a product come across our plate, no pun intended, is we look at that and we try to decide who is going to buy that product from us. Is the product packaged in a way that it makes sense for food service and restaurants? Is it going to make more sense for a retailer? Is this something a household might want, or is this something that is maybe better suited for a farmer's market? So we take a lot of those things into consideration. Your restaurants and food service folks, they want bulk quantities. They want a big box of something. They don't want to have to open 12 jars to get the one thing that they're after. They'd rather have a 1-gallon bucket than 12 jars. Your retailers are actually looking for the 12 jars because those are household sizes, and whatever we sell into a retailer needs to make sense for a household. It also needs to be sold in case packs. I can't pull together 12 different jars of honey because you sold it to me in a 50 pack and my retailer is only going to buy a 12-pack case of that. So it needs to be in pack sizes that make sense. For households, they're looking for the individual units. And then farmers markets, they have, generally speaking, depending on the market that you are at, have lower expectations on what your packaging looks like, lower legal requirements on what that packaging needs to be. But again, it depends. If you are showing at a Chicago or Kansas City farmers market, they're going to expect an elevated experience. If you are shopping at a farmers market in a town of 3,000 people, you're there for the social experience. So very different audiences, and make sure you understand who you are selling to. Here's some examples. This butterhead lettuce, I'm sorry, I'm pointing at my screen and you can't see me doing that. That is meant for retail and household. It's packaged individually. It has the UPC label on there. It's well branded. I'm going to move my screen here. The next one over is really meant for food service and maybe household. It's a bag of lettuce. It has the appropriate label on there for us, but it's not, there's no real great thing on there. I can't sell it into a retailer because it doesn't have any of the proper labeling on there. And then the last image is a bag of food inside of a grocery bag. And that works okay when we resell it into a household. Although we don't love that, we really want our households to have this beautiful experience when they open up their box of food that they get from us. There's no UPC on there. It's the bag of food. It's okay. But I might sell that into food service. Totally depends on what my food service buyers are looking for and why they are buying that local food. So that's one set of examples on what we look for in packaging and branding, just in produce. We also look at packaged goods, and here are 3 examples of honey. Fathead Farms. Everybody is in love with that brand. They have this beautiful line of infused honeys, well branded. It's beautiful. You just want it to put on display. I don't even care if I eat it. I just want it in my house to look at it because I feel good about it. The one next to it from Early Morning Harvest, they do not do the infused honeys, but what they do are the specialty honeys like buckwheat honey, clover honey. So the people that are purchasing this are still looking for that good packaging, but they have a very specific thing that they're looking for. It's usually like a health benefit. And then the jar of honey that's on the far right was gifted to us from a producer, which was nice. But that's not something that we're going to bring into our warehouse. It's a jar of honey that you can find it with your neighbor or your local farmer's market. It's not something that we're going to be able to move. It also doesn't have any of the labeling on it required. Also, size matters. Again, that 1 gallon jar or jug of maple syrup is great for food service, but I'm going to be hard pressed to sell that into a house. But the little jar next to it, I can sell into a house. We also carry 5-gallon buckets of this one that we do sell into restaurants and bread makers. And then, let's see here quickly, industry standards. Know your industry. If you are selling tomatoes, know exactly how to package and case pack your tomatoes. Know if you need wax boxes, if you need clamshells. You can stand out in your packaging, but do not stand out in your case packs, please. I think that's everything. I have one piece on UPCs. UPCs, you have options of getting a GS1, or you can go off-brand at resellers for cheap. Do not do the cheap ones because you'll have to redo all of your UPCs. And trust me, that is a nightmare. Oh, so those were my quick notes. Nutrition labels to create your own Recipal is a great resource. Okay, I ran through it quickly. How much time do we have left for questions?
That's great, Michelle. We have 10 minutes.
All right.
And thank you all so much for everything you shared with us today. I appreciate all that wonderful information. And I do want to go right to questions because we only have 10 minutes left. And I want to hop to the chat. Owen Nelson asked, does anyone know of a company that can do sachet packaging? And Owen, I just wanted to give you a chance to ask that question and even clarify, like, are you looking for a co-packer that can fill that packaging, or are you looking to purchase the packaging? Can you clarify a little bit, and then we'll see if we can get you an answer. I know I'm putting you on the spot, Owen, and if you don't want to come off mute, we can still get your question answered, and I will get the info to you.
I also responded in the chat with some stuff, but
Great,
if
thank you.
they're not able to come off mute, I know we're kind of wrapping up on time, so.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
did. Oh,
know
go
if
ahead.
my response went to just Owen or if it went to everyone, so.
I can see it there. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions for our panel experts? You're welcome to just.
I just have a question. How many of you are overwhelmed with the amount of information that was just thrown at you?
Yes. So I did go ahead and make a copy of, thanks, Gary, of the slideshow, the part that Taylor and I went through. You will still get it on the flash drive, but it just has everyone's contact information. It's just a copy of my slide deck and all of the resources that Taylor and I shared, and then as well as the contact info for the other expert. And so I just dropped that into the chat so that people can access those things quickly. Dana, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
I do. I was gonna ask, what resource to find a UPC or barcodes? I heard GS1, but is that, I don't know. I don't understand.
Julie, do you, I don't remember. There's something about like a geotag that happens in there and that it's assigned to that particular product and brand very specifically. And that's the one, like if you end up in a larger retailer like a Whole Foods or even a food service like a Reinhardt, they will expect that type of barcode. That's why we made the switch. We also learned that when we bought the off-brand, the not GS1, that what we were buying were GS1 barcodes that were not renewed. And so our information was really showing for another product in some of the stores we were in. And so it created a lot of confusion. It makes it look like you own it, but you really, it's weird.
So where is it that you obtain the UPC or the barcode? How do you get that?
You can go to GS1 directly, or I know Grow Nebraska has barcodes that they do resell that they help folks out in the packs of 10. Yeah, but
Okay.
Look up GS and then I think the number 1.
Yeah,
You should be able to.
the website is gs1us.org.
I dropped it in the chat.
Thanks.
And it's for the US.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also, thank you for answering that question for her. I appreciate that. Also, Ben dropped into a chat just a post webinar survey. If you all would not mind taking a minute to just fill that out and give us a little feedback, we would greatly appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Owen. I see. So looking for sachet packaging of icing and caramel, clear, heat sealed. Julie, do you know if that's anything that UNL packs?
No, we do not. We don't really do production here.
Okay.
We're consulting, and we definitely, in what little we have done, we don't do anything like that. We don't have that kind of packaging capability.
Okay.
I know that we have at No More Empty Pots, we've used and just purchased clear packaging, plastic packaging, and then we purchased a heat sealer. So we've done like spices in the past when we were doing like curated kits and stuff. So I can look, I don't know where we got them off the top of my head. But if you, when you want to send an email, if not, I've also made a note for myself, to get your information. And once I figure that out, I can send it to you. And then I think we just purchased our heat sealer from like Uline or somewhere online. And that's what we've done. And then just put our label on the packaging.
Nice. Thank you, Taylor. And then Sarah is asking, do packages need to be sealed like dried teas and herbs? And Amy, I don't know if some of you have a different answer because I got as a retailer, or even Taylor, if someone wants to take that.
I'm trying to think of what we get in for our dry herbs, and they're usually, I don't know that off the top of my head. Sarah, I can get back to you.
From my experience, it depends on kind of like the packaging that you're looking to do. If you want it in bags, there's like kind of those same bags that we've been talking about, the sachet, that you can seal with like the zip, and then you can also heat seal it so that it's sealed temper evident. But we also have herbs and stuff that we dehydrate in-house and just put out in a jar. And it doesn't have that like sealed pop when you do it. So I think it kind of just depends on your buyer. So like, again, when in doubt, depending on where you're selling your product or who your buyers are, connect with them to see what their requirements are, because it might vary. But I can definitely look into that a little bit more if that's needed.
And then
Yeah.
on like the jars like Taylor's talking about, you can buy these little clear like sleeves that go over, and you can seal them, you know, a hair dryer will seal them any amount of low heat. I would encourage you to seal your packages for two reasons: consumer safety, but also for your own protection, just so that you know whatever you put into that package has not been tainted or compromised in any way before it gets to your customer. So I would encourage as a best practice to be sealing all packages, even though it might not be required. I would call that a best practice for sure, though. Do we have any more questions here at the end? And Owen, I don't know if you got my message, but I put down your email, and we are going to see what we can do to help you find exactly what you're looking for. That's kind of niche, but the icing and caramel sound like really cool products. So I will send you an email, and we'll keep working on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. We're just down to the last minute or so. If there are any other questions, Sarah has another one. What if your ingredients change slightly? Does the name need to be changed, or just the ingredient list?
It depends how slightly. If the ingredient list would need to be updated for sure, but if it's enough of a change that it's a different flavor, then I would give it another name. Because if I buy strawberry vanilla yogurt, I expect it to taste like strawberry vanilla yogurt every single time I open that package and eat it. And if something is changed to that, and sort of like I expect to drink a glass of milk and instead it's water and it throws me off. I still love water, but I wasn't expecting water. I was expecting milk. And so for the customer, I think that would be a good idea.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you all joining us today. Thank you so much for signing up for this webinar and giving us an hour of your day. I've left that thank you slide up with all of our contact information. If you have any further questions, I do encourage you to reach out to me or Taylor or anyone that was on the panel today, and sign up for updates from the Heartland Food Business Center on our website. Thank you all for coming. You have a great day. the recording.